Hi, good evening, and welcome to Belfast Dream School of Music. And thank you for some of you who have even been trying to reach us this evening, just as we were trying to get some technical difficulties sorted out. And we apologize that it's been so slow. We will take calls as of now. So if you have any questions for us, if you do want to hear from us, even if you want to ask us for certain songs, we're taking that live now. It's just that we were having some difficulties online, and there were some um, issues with the production live on Facebook, which is a new app that is really only getting started. So if we didn't get to you right away, just give us a shout and let us know. So I'm going to say, ring us again if you're trying to reach us because there were IT issues going on. Okay, and that's my middle name is IT because that's what I do for a living other than playing the music. So tonight is our second half of the jazz music. And I'm really excited to do this because in our first week we barely got through all these wonderful musicians and people who are responsible for jazz music. And we talked about this all week with our students as well about how jazz music set the tone for a lot of the rock and roll that we see today. Even Buddy Holly, even parts of the Beatles, um, Stones, and all of that, because that music was connecting through all the rest of them. And of course, we cannot forget the Jacksons and all of them in the 60s and all that Detroit sound, which was unbelievable, that brought us through to the other side of what we now know as rock and roll music. So thanks for coming in. And again, if you want to ring us, you can certainly do this. So I got the phone handy and we're taking calls as we speak. So there's something you really want to hear from us, but it is the jazz night and we really want to get to it right away. And I said we were going to start by the decade of the 70s. And of course, the 70s, we did talk a little bit about this last week. And one of the things that we talked about was Herbie Hancock. And I really felt I was going well too fast when I talked about somebody like Herbie Hancock because I've heard his music for many, many years. And if you haven't really heard of Herbie Hancock or what the kind of music that he's done, this is a real, real treat. Anything that's jazz music will treat you. If you got a mate, if you got a family, you want to be listening to stuff like this. And so I'm going to put some up right away because what I have for you immediately is about piano. And we've talked about this, especially for those of you who are singers in the school. If you're singing, this is wonderful because as singers, you got to learn so much about how music is going to be affected because of jazz music. And you can hear even some of the rock and roll music through what you're hearing here. And I'm just going to put this up in here because I really love him so much. He's one of my favorite jazz musicians. So I'm going to put them right away up here. So here we go. Here's Herbie. And again, like always, if you're a student of ours especially, don't forget you can go through and listen to a video that we're putting online. And even while we're talking right now, well, you can just come right back and listen to Herbie and what's happening. And thank you, Peter, for putting out there. Thank you very much. And we hope that we'll speak to you very, very soon, Peter. Cheers, mate. Also, a bit of a kudos for my one and only friend, Lydia. As we know, you were ringing along the way. And I can't really spell that well, but there you go. When you're trying to do this, this is what happens when you're doing this. So what about jazz? Why does jazz really hit us? Well, two things really stand out. Oftentimes it's very, very not only melodic, but very relaxing. And when it comes to relationships, especially love relationships, jazz is one of those things that people really love hearing. And Herbie on his piano is amazing. Now, while we're listening to all of that, let's not forget about a few of the others. And I'm going to allude to this again because I did mention um, this band with much of their music being very much jazz, and that is Chicago. And I think just being a town called Chicago and having so much of that, type of music, it's a wonderful way to get involved. I'm just going to run this through, and if you're listening to Herbie Hancock, the live piano solo, it's amazing, amazing stuff. But really, at the end of the day, there's a lot of good bands across the divide. Doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the world you're from. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from. It does. That's what we love about jazz music. And I'm going to put this up here because this is a song that not only do I love, but it also means a lot to my missus and myself. So I'm going to put this up here. And you might want to have just a wee look at this one because it's almost underneath because you think, is this rock and roll? Is this jazz? Well, it's a bit of each. Bands from both Detroit and Chicago would have had a lot of influence from the jazz scene around them. And in this case, of course, we know that Chicago would have been very much a part of that experience. Horns throughout the entire set of songs. Their band was full of this kind of jazzy rock and roll, maybe even melodic and very love oriented. So you might just check in with that and have a listen to that as well. But back to what we were talking about earlier, and this is of course Jazz by the Decade because that's what we are doing over the 2 weeks, is who made a difference? What made a difference to us if we were listening to it? And last week, I talked to you a bit about Miles Davis, and there's somebody again who's had an impact on my life. So when you come and you actually visit with me and you're learning music, it's because of the things that we're offering to you from people like um, the amazing Herbie Hancock, for example. And I don't think I mentioned this person last week. And interestingly enough, of course, with the Black Lives Matter, this is a good time to mention this particular individual. So I'm going to put this up as well. It says Wynton Marsalis and Black Coats. It's an amazing song. So if you're one of our students, you want to pick up on some of these songs because what these songs are doing are teaching you how music really works. And when you first start, you're thinking, God, if I just can play 3 chords put together, this is great stuff. Wonderful. But as you become more a part of our student group, you begin to realize you want more. You want to learn more about music. You want to learn more about what you're doing. And maybe even play songs that are a bit more difficult than you thought you could do when you first arrived. And I'm not saying you have to learn these particular songs, but what you should realize is you can learn these songs. And that's the best part. So I'm going to put this up in just a moment here. I'm going to show you one of these. And as we run this through, again, you don't have to listen all the way through, but you might want to pick up on Wynton Marsalis because it's an amazing man and horns all the way through. So if you're interested in trumpets, trombones, any of it, this is what you're going to want to be listening to. And this is what Chicago really picked up from their own experience as rock and roll musicians. But if you just like listening to slow jazz, just relaxing at the end of the day, this is a great opportunity for you to listen to this particular type of music. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're a student today, if you've been a student before, if you be a student tomorrow, and if you just love music altogether. Wynton Marsalis is one of those people that you could really just relax and enjoy. But if you are playing one of our instruments, that is any of the string instruments, you begin to realize the upright bass, you can hear cellos, you can hear the horns and all the rest of it. And of course, pianos are a big part of it. Of course, we do the piano as well. So if you're a guitarist, if you're into the mandolin, or your your 4 and 5 string banjos, or if you're into, and I'm going to just raise this while I have a chance, this instrument right here, the ukulele, it does not matter. You can really enjoy any of these songs as a real treat for your night, especially if you're in some kind of time zone that's back behind us. So I'm really happy to see all of you. Thanks a million for coming in today. Now, during our time, you all know probably because you've been listening for weeks past that sometimes the dogs get involved, and I might have to go around the house and just mind them. But pick on any of those videos while we're going through today's hour. If I have to just quickly leave and go up and um, just make sure everybody's okay. Okay. So, what about the 70s and the 80s in terms of jazz music? Well, we know that in terms of like Wynton Marsalis, amazing horn player, great smooth jazz, Kenny G's, you know, a lot of Kenny G's music came out of that same idea. Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk, love that man's music. And every time we have this, somehow Louis Armstrong shows up. And Louis Armstrong, for decades, was the man leading the way when it came to jazz music. So don't forget to look at him as well. If you know of people like Kenny Kirkland and saxophonist I almost said Branford Marsalis because it's Wynton's brother, and we've heard of Brandon Marsalis as well. So I'm going to just put his name up there. And he went on his own to do his own type of music. And I think I might be hearing one of the dogs going off here in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down for a moment. I want you to go on and listen to a few of these songs that you listen to. I'm going to go up and I'm going to deal with our border collie because I can hear him bark in the background. And we'll be right back with you, but have a listen to any of those that we just put up there. So in my background, I have just Winston Marsalis on. And if you've been listening to a bit of that, well done. Well, if you're wondering as a student, can I do any of this music? Can I make any of this? And are all these chords just too difficult for me to do? I'm going to give you an example right now of something we do right at Kelly Sellers. This is an amazing little song that most of you will probably know. Again, with a lot of jazz influence into it. By the look in my eyes, baby, there was something missing. You should have known by the tone of my voice, baby, there was didn't listen. You played dead, but you never bled. Instead you lay still in the grass, all caught up in his cell. Though I know all about those men, still I don't remember. 'Cause it was us, baby, way before then. And we're still together. And I meant every word I said when I said that I love you. I meant that I love you forever. I'm gonna keep on loving you, 'cause it's the only thing I won't do. I don't wanna sleep, I just wanna keep on loving you. And I meant every word I said when I said that I love you. I meant that I love you forever. And I'm gonna keep on loving you, 'cause it's the only thing I wanna do. I don't wanna speak, I just wanna keep on loving you. Ooh. So as we've been telling you at the school, you don't have to be playing a lot of chords to get a lot out of it. And in that course and in that song, there's only about 5 chords in the whole song. So if you have an interest for the kind of music that we're talking about now, it doesn't require that you're going to need to learn a lot of extra chord, a lot of extra music. Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to do some great, great things with a guitar, with a banjo, with a ukulele, with all the different types of instruments that we play here at the school. So have a listen to those. Have a listen to maybe even Keep On Loving You. I know that was a bit impromptu right there, but we do that one at our session at Kelly Sellers. I'm going to bring up some other people as well because I think that oftentimes we don't really hear a lot of contemporary jazz. We know about Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, but maybe certain names don't really get across. And I'm going to put one in front of you in just a moment, okay? So I'm going to put this one up. Just give me 2 ticks here. And I'm going to run it to you. I'm going to ask you what you think about this particular song. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this in here. I'm going to put it up onto the screen, and you're going to be able to listen to this right away. And it's called Let's Fall in Love. And again, we talked about this and how this genre is very much about this type of music. And the song Let's Fall in Love. And so I'm going to put that up there, just 2 ticks. And that's Diana Krall, who did that song, Diana Krall. And of course, I am very happy for you to just nip off for a moment and listen to this song because it's all about the music. It's not about myself. This is about you. This is about you being a student of ours, and we're always so very happy to have you in. So I'm just going to put that up there for you. I want you to have just a quick listen. Here we go. And on we go. Lovely, beautiful songwriter. There we go. Diana has a very smooth voice. She has that Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday type voice that we all think about, of course, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But it just shows that jazz music is timeless. And if you're a singer, you want to pick up on stuff like this. Even if you're a male singer, if you listen to the way the vowels get elongated, if you listen to how she rolls up and down in terms of her voice, that's the same type of thing we've been hearing since the early days. And there were others who did that during the 1960s as well. I'm going to put up a couple names in just a moment to help remind you about what we call women of jazz. And Nora Jones, of course, is a part of that as well. But especially if you're a female singer, if you begin in even this place, but you really want to be a rock and roll singer, you want to be the next Lady Gaga, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm going to put up some names, especially for those of you who have some interest in this music and maybe interest in really becoming the next type of Ella Fitzgerald. So I'm just going to put this up here. And actually, I knew people, I can't say I knew Nancy Wilson, but I knew people who knew her. And I don't know if that counts, but she's part of that cadre as well. I'll just put that up on the screen. So any one of those you might want to have a nice little listen to because they all had that same smooth jazz that we tend to think of. And especially on a Saturday night, Sunday night, when you're with your partner, or if you're around your kids, you just want to jazz and you want to dance to it. During a time when we're all locked in, this is an opportunity for all of us to be able to listen to this music again and maybe enjoy it when we can't get into the pubs, we can't get into the clubs, we can't get into the theaters at this stage. So have a listen to Diana Krall. What a lovely voice she has. And again, like Ella and Billie, she has that style. I'm going to also mention Nancy Wilson there too, only because I knew people who knew her as well. So there you go. Throw that on tonight. And of course, this is the 1990s that we're talking about now. And what else? What else was going on in the 1990s during that year? Well, I'm going to put up a couple more things and a couple more people in the 1990s. It's a song called Jazz Thing. And I'm just going to put that up there for you. Great video. Now, this is an official video of the Jazz Thing called by Gangstar. And he kind of is very, very nonchalant about it. But it'll take you right back to the 1950s, 1940s we talked about. But here's how he integrated that music into rap. And you can do that too. I mean, we can do that with rock and roll music. We put jazz into, country music. And I mentioned this last week. Don't worry if you start off in one part of any genre. You can always move to another genre. And this is a great example of it. I love this because for all of you who really love, that kind of music, if you love, even a little bit of rap music, if you love that style, take a look at this. This is incredible. A lovely rendition of something called Jazz Thing, but it's rapped almost all the way through. So if you like that kind of music, have a listen to that. And again, nip off, have a listen to that, and just come right back in. I want to remind everybody that Belfast Stream School of Music is open every day of the week, and on nights on the weekday and during all day Saturday and Sunday. So you can ring us at any time and ask us about music, ask us about lessons, but we also want to help you about anything about music production. Even if you have a question about the instruments, ring us up. Ask us about the instruments and what's the best kind of instruments for a guitar or a banjo or a mandolin or a ukulele. Um, we of course we know music, we know the sounds of the cellist, we know the sounds of the mandola and others like the bowed psaltery. If that's something that you're interested in, is the bowed psaltery. That's also another string instrument, and you can actually play jazz on that too. Though I'm not going to get into that today. That's for another time when we talk more about jazz. So have a lovely time with Gangstar there. Of course, almost like Ringo Starr, we've got Gangstar. And if you put those two words together, you probably will come up with some kind of word that sounds like that. Okay, Gangstar. I'm sure you'll catch on to that very, very, very quickly. Now, as we move on, um, jazz moves into different formats. And we mentioned this last week that sometimes the different types of instruments that are involved in jazz, even in New Orleans jazz, different instruments in different decades come to the center while the other instruments go to the back. So where there might be a piano and maybe a guitar might be way back, sometimes in certain decades the guitar comes forward, the piano's way back. The drum kit may be way back as well, but in certain parts of it, maybe if you think of Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, we could hear that drum kit come straight through. And every time these instruments change in terms of their emphasization, it seems that another type of jazz is born. So I'm going to put this one up too here. And this is a great little number. And we're just going to put this up here and so I can get this to you just in 2 ticks. So if you're listening to any of the others, by the time you come back, you'll be listening to something new. Okay, we're nearly there for this one. This, yep. And I usually try to go to live ones. If I can't find a live version, I will always put another one on. But the best part is if you can listen to live, and if you come to our lessons, you know that you'll learn more than anything if you listen to live because they will show you things that a 3 minute and 30-second song will never do because there's not enough time to really get involved in the song. And of course, jazz music in particular lends itself to 5, 6, 7 minute songs. So I'm going to put this one in there. Now, it may take a while for you to listen all the way through that one because this particular number is 4 minutes and 20 seconds and it's very, very, very simple. Not a lot involved there. Again, the drummer seems to be kicking up a little bit. Again, the piano comes center. We can hear the cellist behind. And just like the early jazz, there's only 3 musicians. Later on, jazz took on a lot more, especially when the Dean Martin and the Frank Sinatra period, where you would have a full cadre of different people playing every different horn, all the different upright basses, cellos, and so on, and even, of course, different drum kits, along with bongos and such. Don't forget to listen to those as well because they can teach you so much about how music works. And before you know it, in a single year with us in our school, we can teach you about all this and you will feel like you didn't know how, you didn't know music before now. So at Belfast Streams in a year, you will wonder how about all the music you now know. And that's the best part. It's like you just come out and you just think, geez, I'm just so glad I learned about all this. This is just wonderful stuff. Now, as I said, Bad Plus is a very, very, very simple song. And as I said, through the years, it does go through a lot of different experiences, a lot of changes. And I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to put another one up here in just a moment here too. And as I mentioned last week, we just can never put enough up here. I mean, we're just going and we're hitting one after another of these people. And again, this is going to be a live version, and it's a very long version. So I won't lie to you, it's going to take a while, but it is a jazz version. Coming straight forward is the piano in this particular number. Take a listen to this one. This is wonderful. The thing that I've learned about all this music, even from my own experiences, once you get a handle on just the basics of what you're doing on any of your instruments, you can begin to freelance. You can begin to try new things on the instrument, and what you're hearing there, you can do on your guitar. You can do it on even on a banjo. If all you know is where the notes are, and just keep playing those triplets, those quads, those doubles, and as you learn along, you'll be able to create your own music, whether it's listening, from somebody else and you're doing that song because you loved it so much, or maybe because it's something you want to build. One of the things at the school that we really want to push is that when you bring your own music, we will help you to finish it. That means finish the lyrics, finish the music, put a production together for that music and for that song. So it will be a live production, so you can send it to anybody you want to. And all you had to do was bring a song that was maybe completely unfinished. Maybe it only had a single verse in it. We have taken people who have come to the school and taken one verse or one chorus and put it all together into a single song and be able to produce it, record it all the way through, and be able to send it out to live production companies. So don't be shy about that. I mean, we do all that as well because we have all the software at our hands. So I'm just listening to Paranoid Android, and of course, many of us are experiencing Paranoid Android because we all have mobile phones, just like mine. And again, if you want to just ring me and you let me know how, or if there's something you want to hear in particular while we do our show tonight, you can do that as well. So have a good listen on to Paranoid Android. I love that name. That's such a great name, Paranoid Android. There we go. So what's happened during this time? What's happened to our music? What's happened to jazz in particular during the decade? Well, that's from the 2000s. What I love about jazz during the 2000s is it still goes back to some of the basics we learned last week from the 1900s and 19 teens. It's just better produced, possibly. It's just more listenable if you didn't like vinyl because it would scratch. I still love all those as well. I mean, if you love the scratch, that's part of the experience of doing that. But when I listen to Paranoid Android, I still hear the 19 teens coming through, and it's amazing. So have a listen to that, and we'll bring you some other ideas along the way. Of course, we're now going to be into the 20 teens of jazz. So what about the 20 teens? Well, it's no surprise that jazz didn't die after 2000. It kept on going as well. So let's take some examples of that as well. So here's some great music from that time period. I'm going to put this one up here. The one thing I love about the music now is that it doesn't matter if you're male, female, black, white, indifferent. I don't care if you're checkered, whatever it is. I'm always amazed at some of these people that just come up, and this female artist too is wonderful. I'm just going to put her up there so you can have a wee listen. If you've got a mate who loves this kind of music that goes back to the old way of doing music, New Orleans jazz, you want to listen to this. And it sounds like it was from yesterday, or it sounds like it from 1955. Take a listen to this one. Alex Pangman, lovely, beautiful singer, beautiful woman as well. And they call themselves the Alley Cats, kind of like the Stray Cats in my generation. But you go right back to that New Orleans jazz. You can hear that lovely, trumpets, trombones, of course. And she has picked songs in this from 1933. So she brought back all that New Orleans jazz from 1933 and brought it forward. And because, of course, we have all this new production, we can take that kind of music, bring in clarinets in there, we can bring in cellos, the same things that we did years ago, but now it's 2020. And it just shows that that music is timeless. So I'm going to let you have a listen to that. Honeysuckle Rose was another song she did. Lovely, lovely. So have a good listen to that. This is what I love about doing these different genre. When we first started off doing these weeks, we started off with the ideas we were just going to do music of the decades, which we did. We went all the way from, I think it was 1950s, right, sweetheart? 1950s all the way to 2020. And then we said we're going to do genre. So we started off with rock and roll. We said, no, we're going to do jazz before we do country music. We are still going to do all this. By the way, it may stop doing Wednesday nights because people are going to go out. People are being let out, so to speak, into the pubs and clubs and so on. So it may be that we're going to move this Wednesday night to Sunday. And the reason for that is just because I know all of you are itching to get out. And if you are wanting to go out to listen to live music, of course, you're welcome to do so. We love that fact that you want to go and hear different kinds of music all the way through, okay? So go ahead, listen to that music, and come back to us. I believe it will be Sunday, right? Sunday at 8 o'clock instead of Wednesday at 8 o'clock because now everyone will be moving out of their homes and on their way to retail will open up on 4 July, at least in the United Kingdom, and where you may be in the world, whether it be Australia, America, South Africa, you have different things going on. We only hope that you're staying safe, and we hope that they will not lock you back in because there's nothing worse than having to go out and then realize you have to go back in. So go out and be safe, and we wish you and your family all the best so far. So we're 40 minutes into our time, and we've gone through to where already have reached the 2000 and teens section. So what about the 2000 teens? Is there anything else interesting about that time? Well, I'm sure you would not be surprised to hear that there is. And when I hear the surname Porter, I'm thinking, oh my God, this has got to be good. And I don't know if he's even related to our friend Porter, but I know who this guy is because I've listened to much of his music before because at least one of you brought him to our attention at the school. That's another reason why we love teaching you is because you show us a lot of the music you love and then we share it with other people. Here's a lovely live version of something called Be Good. I'm going to put this here in just a wee moment, just to tick.